never told anyone what I saw that night. My girlfriend already thought I was weird, and she never believed anything I told her. So there was no way I was going to tell her something that possibly involved her late brother. But years later, something would happen that I felt comfortable enough to tell her. My girlfriend is now my wife. We are staying in the guest room of her mother's home. The visit has been normal for the most part, aside the fact that my mother-in-law was hurting as usual. She seemed to always be mourning the loss of her son. After my wife and her mother talked for a long time, reminiscing the past, we eventually go to bed. I'm not certain all the reminiscing of my wife's brother has anything to do with what happens next. My brother-in-law did pass away on the property, and I personally have always felt his presence. Guilt was always something that bothered me too. Now, I often think about what I could have done differently. I believed for a long time that I missed an opportunity to save him. It was during the family's last Thanksgiving with him. He was needing a fresh start, and I knew I could get him a job with me. At the time, my wife and I had a spare room he could have lived in. But I stopped myself from broaching the topic with him. I knew it would drive my wife crazy. There was something about her brother and myself being around one another that frustrated my wife. I myself thought about how my brother-in-law's friends would be around often. Combining my wife's frustration with my jealousy caused me to never offer my old friend the chance for a new beginning. And even though my old friend has come to me repeatedly over the years in my dreams, telling me to get over it, I can't. My wife and I fall asleep in the guest room. I don't know what causes me to wake up, but I open my eyes and see a white, glowing figure. It is definitely a man. He is walking away from me. I don't feel any fear at all. I watch as he walks down my side of the bed towards the foot of the bed. He is wearing what looks like a white, baggy top and baggy pants. The clothing doesn't look normal. It resembles a kung fu uniform. The only color is a yellow outline around his white glow. I finally see the left side of his face. I instantly see the uncanny appearance of my brother-in-law. I'm still calm. Perhaps I am so used to being terrorized, and this experience is refreshing. He gets to my wife's side of the bed and turns towards her. His glow gets brighter as he walks closer to her. He gets to my wife's head and looks down at her. His face has shown no emotion since I began watching him. But as he stares at my sleeping wife, he smiles very gently. His eyes are shining too bright to actually see them. His smiling gaze then becomes directed at me. As he looks up towards me, an explosion of white and yellow light radiates from him. The light explodes through the walls of the room before imploding back on him. And just as if someone turned off a light switch, he vanishes. I cannot say for sure my wife's brother was on my side of the bed. My first thought is he was coming to see his niece for the first time, and she would have been sleeping next to me. But I honestly cannot remember if my daughter was with us that night. There is another possibility though. As you continue listening, you will find out. I was told by my visitors that I have a unique quality. A quality that creates a type of atmosphere around me. Basically, my presence opens a portal between our world and the unknown. But I eventually learned to take everything my visitors told me with a grain of salt. But in the beginning, I hung on their every word. I believed them wholeheartedly because of the first thing they had ever told me. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so I know we've been taking a detour from the aliens and things, and I just I kind of like this change of tone a little bit. I mean, we're definitely going to get back to the aliens. It's going to get crazy. It's going to get pretty wild here pretty soon in the story. That night I woke up to see this glowing entity that I'm absolutely convinced what I was seeing was my brother-in-law. Now, I have doubts about everything I see because it's very clear that the powers that be have really wanted to confuse me. You know, I have a truth to tell, and the more that they can confuse me, the better. I mean, it causes me such problems because I have a horrible fear of telling someone something that's not true, that's not to be factual. That's why a lot of my guarantees are I can guarantee folks that I'll be able to tell you absolutely beyond doubt what the aliens are not. I know what they are not beyond any doubt. But these experiences, like seeing my brother-in-law, and ever since I'd had my daughter, I always, whenever my daughter would smile over my shoulder or something, I would always have this feeling that my brother-in-law was there. You know, he wasn't just my brother-in-law, he was my friend. I always felt like he was there. And as far as my mother-in-law's home, my brother-in-law, he passed away outside of the home in this 2-car garage that was not connected to the home. And I was terrified of it. I was absolutely terrified of that garage. Even during the day. To be around that garage scared me because I was always so afraid I was going to see him and that was going to startle me. I'd already had several experiences out there, being out in the back lot by myself at night and have the garage light there was a man door to walk into the garage, and then there was 2 large garage doors, and there was a light beside the door, and it would come on. And I mean, I just had experiences like that. And then especially if that man door was left open and it was dark out, I just knew that I was going to see him in there. And that's just because of my experiences in life. That's because I've seen so much and I felt a presence. I always felt a presence. So it was my assumption that the presence was his. And I was so afraid I was going to see him. And then the night that I seen him walk around our bed, you know, we were just visiting that night. We weren't living there. We were just spending the night at my mother-in-law's house. And she had been drinking pretty heavy that night. And it was a very emotional night. So when we went to bed, you know, there had been a lot of talk about my brother-in-law that night. Now, for me, there's the possibility that was my brother-in-law's spirit, his energy. I'm not going to say that it wasn't, but for me, there's also the possibility of what I really believe. And what I really believe about ghosts and apparitions and everything like that. And I will eventually get to the point of what I really believe. But back then, in that state of mind I was in, I had no doubt that was my brother-in-law. But where I'm at now, I'm down the middle about it. Honestly, I'm like maybe 5% that was my brother-in-law. And that's just because, you know, there's always a possibility that I'm wrong about things. But it definitely was an experience that, honestly, that experience is easier for me to recall than these other ones that I've been put into this audiobook. It's a lot easier for me to recall these experiences about him. Maybe because they weren't as horrifying maybe they're easier to recall because they weren't these these to the limits horror of being tranquilized and tortured. Maybe that's why these encounters with the spirit realm are a lot easier for me to recall. But thanks everyone for listening, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. You know, I appreciate it. I don't mind putting in all this work. You know, when you guys like a video, you have 100% anonymity. I cannot see who likes my videos, and no one else can. So when you give a like, it's not like we know who done it. It only takes literally it just takes a second to click the thumbs up. It has no effect on you, but it does help the channel. Thanks everyone for everything. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been listening to Mac and Creeps. Aliens, monsters, and the supernatural. A true story of a terrorized life.